So I don't have anything necessarily formally sketched out or drawn out. I know there's a ton of new stuff, and some of the people in the trade room actually use the software, and the ones who don't, hopefully, will soon someday. But I was just going to go through a list of things that have been fixed. I'm not going to go through the whole list, or we'll be here for 3 or 4 hours. But one of the main issues that I started out to fix a couple months ago was the most long-standing bug we have. If you were running on a Rhythmic account, every once in a while you would get into the trade, and then all of a sudden you wouldn't have any stops or targets. And that's a common issue for a lot of NinjaTrader coders because Rhythmic doesn't behave like all the other providers do. So we did finally solve that. I've had 5 guys testing it pretty extensively. Most people are using Tradabate accounts, so they wouldn't even ever see this issue. But if you're using Bullnox, you don't really have a choice. So I do have a couple of accounts there, so I was able to buy an eval and kind of test it and beat it up over the last 4 weeks. So that should be good. That's probably the longest standing bug we've ever had with Blue Wave. So that was good. Let's see what else we got. There was a new indicator that people may or may have not seen. Let me pull that up on the chart. This one is called the Premium Discount Zones. So pull that up. I'm running in Market Replay, so some of this might not act like it would normally act. And these are not real trades. If I put a trade on later, don't take them. This is March 23rd. So, but you'll see one of the things that I discovered as I was reviewing my own trade journal is over time, the biggest tagged mistake I have is that I was chasing the trade. So for the most part, in early last year, I was the opposite of George. You know, George is really good. If he wants to go long, he's never hitting the go button. Like, he's never going to mark it in. And he's really great about saying, well, if I go long, that's great, but I want to pull back down here somewhere. So I was trying to figure out a way where I could knock that off and stop doing it. So, you know, one of the things, if you're looking at swing points, like this is the 1 minute swings. Let me bring those on so you can envision those a little easier. Let's see, swing strength of 5, that'll match. Yeah. So you see we're currently, this is our swing high right here, and our swing low is actually developing. So as every bar paints, this kind of updates. Let me go to a 5-minute chart, probably make a little more sense. There we go. Well, that must have been the big news day. So anyway, on a 5-minute chart here, that was the new swing high. So if I start buying up here, I'm paying an awful lot for this trade. And looking back to my journal, you know, I would do it like right here. I'm like, ooh, nice little doji candle, and yeah, let's do it. And when I really need to be doing is, this isn't the 5-minute swing here, so this is a high and low. I need to be at least waiting until we get to a 50% pullback. So this kind of visually shows you that. You can also say, okay, that's great. You're showing me the panel now, but what did it look like as this trade was progressing? So I can see, like after that news pop, I shouldn't have been going long anywhere until it hit this 50% mark. Now, that news pop is kind of weird. It doesn't happen like that very often, so this is a bad example. But the cool thing is you can put this on a multiple time frames. So you can say, okay, that's the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15 minute. And if I had live market data, I could actually show you the market analyzer where you literally just see color codedness. So hard to demo that one in replay. But anyway, just a little hint of one of the new indicators. A couple little bug fixes. In in the strategy, if you had a target of 0 for ATR, that was supposed to be a runner, and it wasn't, so that got fixed. Let's see. A lot has changed with the ICT indicator. So if you're an ICT trader, there's lots of goodies coming up in that one. Let me just pull that on. So you'll see that the preview name is now removed as well because it's actually ready for prime time. And I'm gonna go back to the 1 minute for this because it'll show more things. So if you're familiar with ICT, one of the big things is fair value gaps, inverted fair value gaps, balanced price range, change in the state of delivery, all sorts of stuff. So if you're one of those traders and you're looking at this in the London session, there's an awful lot of signals here telling you to go long. One is the change in state of delivery, so that's where you have 3 or more down bars, and then you have a thrusting up bar that closes above all of the opens and closes of the previous bar. So that would be an early indication that might be going long here. And then, we're coming down here, and as soon as we break this lower high, we know that this one, wherever it goes, is going to become a higher high. That's a change of character. So there's your second sign that, hey, maybe this thing is going up. When we blew through here, there was a fair value gap also supporting that. When we blew through here, there was another fair value gap supporting that. It came up, one of the trades that a lot of ICT guys do is after you get that gap, they wait for it to pull back into the 50% mark, the consequent encroachment. So that's what that little mark there is. Once that actually came down, worked out, and took back off, that became a balanced price range as well. So that's why that yellow was there. So I was just scrolling back on the chart and just happened to see a monster ICT trade. I mean, that was a pretty good one, especially for London if you happen to be awake trading that. So one of the other things, these charts are really busy. There's a lot of concepts on here. So one of the things I did is I built this little menu up here so you can turn things off. Like if you don't want to see the consequent encroachment lines, those are gone now. Let's say I don't want to see the fair value gaps. Those are now gone. So that should make things a lot easier as far as decluttering the chart. But if you're an ICT guy, man, there's an awful lot there. And the other cool thing about this indicator is if you're building your own strategies, you can actually see these data plots in a strategy builder. So, if you already had some other code that you liked and you're like, man, it'd be really nice if I could figure out if there was just a fair value gap, you'll be able to do that with our indicator and your own custom code. There's another indicator called key price points, but again, that's hard to show in playback because I only have 1 day of data. So that might not even work. Let's see what it shows us. Just curious. I'm streaming to Discord, recording on OBS, and using NinjaTrader, so that's why my screen is really, really laggy. Okay, so this shows a little bit of data. I can see where the current week low is, the current week high, and as we all know, price likes to go test those things, and then sometimes it reverses real nice. But again, I brought the menu in here as well, so if you don't care about the Asia kill zone, you can get rid of that, or the New York morning, maybe you don't care for that. Let's see, and you don't really care where all the current stuff is, but maybe you do care where midnight is. Now it's kind of reduced to the points that you care about. These can also be used in a strategy. So if you have some sort of code that says I only want to take a long when we just pierced below, the current week's low, and we've come back above it. All sorts of things. You could totally code against this indicator instead of having to build your own logic to figure that out. So that's pretty cool. There was a bug with the time exit. So some people, like Captain Odie, he likes to trade the Globex, and one day he kept putting a trade in and it kept closing on him, and we couldn't figure out why. And we realized that after 1800, if you had the time exit on, it was actually using yesterday's time instead of the current day, so that got fixed. So if you've ever been one of those people who are like, why does my trade keep closing? What the heck? That might have been it. So let's see what else we got. Command Center, Performance Lab. I'll show all that here in a second. I'm just scrolling through my list of development items, by the way, on a different screen. Weekly price points added. Yeah, okay, cool. So let me get rid of this indicator, and then we're going to go into the strategy. So let me clean that up. Just testing some ChartCast stuff, so I got to get rid of these drawings. There we go. Okay, so as you probably noticed, we've rebranded, added lots of new features to what used to be known as the Auto Trader, and the main reason we rebranded it is because when people hear the word Auto Trader, they think it's only good for running algorithms and stuff like that. And over the years, a lot of people, myself included, use the quote Auto Trader to do our manual trading. So there for a while, we tried to call it hybrid trading, but it's not really obvious to a new person what the heck we mean by hybrid. So we basically had to revamp the whole name. And then one of the other things we did is I'm trying to reduce the price point so more people can get to it. When I bought it as a customer like 12 years ago, it was like $5,000, and we're obviously trying to get that price point down. But one of the things that we did is in the new EdgeMax system, if you're only ever going to do discretionary trading, then you only have to pay for that part. So we basically call it execution mode. So if you're just going to be doing manual trading, the discretionary mode over here is much cheaper than it used to be. If you already have a Auto Trader license, you automatically get all of this. There's no additional like upgrade fees or anything like that. So as long as you keep your maintenance going, you get to use all the new stuff that you see today. If you maybe purchased it 5 or 6, 7, 10 years ago, I've had a couple people pop in lately that saw all the new stuff. We're not going to charge you that activation fee if you're an existing customer who already owned the Auto Trader at one point. So if that's you, just shoot me a DM. I'll get you a special coupon code set up that we'll waive that for you. But anyway, so you can use this in discretionary mode, which is where you are placing the trades, but after you place them, then the engine's taking over and it's managing all your stops and trail stops and all that good stuff that we're all used to. And if you're on the opposite side and you're like, look, I'm never going to trade with the trade manager, but I do want to do some algos, then you can also get just the algo mode. Most people will probably end up sticking with what they know today, which is the old Auto Trader. The full suite is basically the EdgeMax full engine. So if you've not explored the website, it's also gotten quite a good makeover here. So we got that. Let's see, the precision indicators, that's got a new page now. A lot of people, aren't sure what half of our indicators do. We have like 30 plus indicators now, so that page is pretty decent. And I'm also working on some help documents that kind of explain the parameters and stuff a little bit better. And then also on the website, we got a new page for George's Trade Room. So that's pretty cool. So if you come in here, give you a little idea. If you're not already in the trade room, we have had some really good success lately. A lot of the guys are really getting in sync with the way George does his terminology, and we created a free video course where you can go in and watch that. and we have a 7-day trial. So, if you want to come see what George is up to and kind of hone your manual trading skills and maybe plug that into the discretionary mode of EdgeMax, you can sign up for the trial right here on the website. So if you already had a trial a couple years ago, it might complain that you've already had a trial. If that happens and you're interested in, rejoining, just shoot me a message, and I'll have to do some sort of manual override to let it know that it's okay for you to buy another trial. We had a couple people that got like 5 free trials in a row, so we had to figure out how to not let people do that. But let me get into the actual EdgeMax strategy. I can show you a couple cool things in there. First thing you'll notice right off is we've kind of consolidated some things, trying to take up so much space on the screen. A lot of guys have 3 or 4 of these running at the same time, so that's pretty important. And it got kind of a modernized makeover. The cool thing is this is the dark theme, but if you use a lighter theme in Ninja, it'll actually completely change all this around, and it'll match your light theme as well, which is kind of cool. One of the things that we've been asked over the years is there a way to make the trade manager bigger or smaller? So now you can drag that around. When you let go of that, it actually remembers your setting. So when you bring up a new strategy, it should match whatever width you have, so you don't have to keep dragging every single one of them. But it's the little things that make life easy, so we put that one in there. One of the things, as a manual trader myself using our software, that I noticed was, and like George likes to layer in his entries. So let's say he has some sort of has to hold or something sitting down here. He'll put maybe an order a couple ticks or points above it. He'll put one right on it, maybe 1 or 2 below it. Well, with the old Auto Trader, you could only place one of those limit orders. So that was very limiting, no pun intended. So what we did was we juiced that feature up, and we're calling it a drop-in order. So, keeping with the surf theme. If you don't already know it, Randy, our founder, is quite the surfing guru out there in Maui where he lives. So that was kind of a tip of the hat back to the roots of BWT. So anyway, right now I'm going to set up a bracket order, and I'm literally just going to buy one in the first bracket. You get 4 bracket slots. Everybody, I think, knows that. So if I hit drop in buy and then I put that on the chart
order
over here,
submitted,
you're going to see now I have a buy limit order sitting. And this reminds you of how many contracts are going to go into each slot if it gets down here. These orders might be on your chart for 3 or 4 hours before it comes to get your level. So it's hard to remember what was what. But anyway, I'm going to layer in a second one. I'm going to say, okay, well, if it happens to get down here, I want to add
order
another
submitted,
contract, but I want it to be in the second bracket. And then maybe I can say, I'm going to do one more. This is the juicy spot. If it really gets here, I'm all
order
in.
submitted,
So now I'm going to add a second one to the bracket 2, and then 1 to bracket 3, 1 to bracket 4. So if all 4 of these or all 3 of these get filled, I'll have 1, 2, 1, and 1 in my brackets. You can clear those individually. You can either hit the checkbox here, or if there's a specific order, maybe you got 20 of them on the screen, you can hit the X
order
there,
canceled,
get rid of it. You can say clear all.
Order canceled.
Another cool thing you can do is I can drop a buy above the market. So maybe this is a decision point that, it's coming down to test. And as long as it bounces off of that and goes back up, I want to take submitted. My position. So this is the same drop-in order, but it's now a buy stop instead of a limit buy. So, and all of that works obviously in reverse for the sells as well. So
order canceled.
I think that's going to be a pretty cool feature that a lot of people use. I've been using it in testing pretty well, so wanted to make sure everybody saw that. Let's see. There's a couple of other things. Let me make this window a little smaller so it causes an issue here. Let's say you have 4 of these charts on the screen. Before, there was no way to get down there to that auto stop button. You had to literally expand your chart to see it. Well, now you'll notice just the little things that count. Now there's a scroll bar, so you could go turn that on if you wanted to. You know, the cool thing is I'm a trader just like you guys. So as I'm using the software, I notice little pain points. So I'm able to just, you know, go in and fix them. So that's why a lot of these little comfort things are in here. Has some really good testers this time around. We'll give a shout out to Paige. You guys see him in the Discord a lot, but man, he really threw me some great ideas and really beat up some stuff after I put it out there, and I thought it was working, and it wasn't quite working yet. So a little shout out there. But one of the cool things, let me actually get into an order here. I don't know what the market did that day, so we'll just
Order submitted.
We'll just have to see.
Order submitted.
We've got that really wicked candle over there, so it's causing this chart to be super zoomed in. Let me move a couple things up. What I'm hoping to show you, if it goes up, is the break-even button. So
Order filled.
everybody's familiar with the break-even button over here. If I click that, it's literally going to move my stops right to the average price. Well, one of the cool things is if you mouse over the break-even button and start scrolling, you can say, okay, if I hit it now, I want it to go break-even plus 3 ticks. You can actually go backwards too. So if I say break-even, you know, minus 10, then that would move me to, oh, there it is. 10 ticks under the
Order
market.
filled.
So I thought that was a pretty cool thing, and I went ahead and added it. Since we put the scroll bar in there, I said, well, why not go ahead and let you can mouse over these and scroll these as well. So that's a lot quicker than sitting there and clicking the button 10 times. I think it works on the OCO breakout as well. Yeah, it does. Okay.
Order filled.
Well, man, I wish that would have been a real trade in real life. And a quick $2,000. If I hit trail 50, it's going to calculate the math halfway between where I'm currently sitting and where the market is. You'll see how that popped up real quick. And I don't know if this template has trail stop management or not. It doesn't look like it does. So anyway, that was the scroll wheel enhancements to the trade manager as well. And then the last major thing was a lot of people have asked for hotkeys over the years. So we actually have that working now. So this little keyboard icon here is where you set those up. So you come in here and you say, okay, and I'll actually change one. So trail high low. If I click in there, it's now listening to my keyboard. So if I hit Control H, and then I save that. When I'm out here in this chart, if I hit Control H on my, actually I need to move the stop down because it's already at the low of the previous bar. There we go. So if I hit Control H, it'll, it should move up there. Not sure why it's not. Save that. Let's see. Yeah, I did. Oh, one of the things is the trade manager has to have the focus of your mouse because otherwise it wouldn't have a clue what chart you mean when you hit Control B to buy. So if I hit that button, it's something's happening. I'm not sure. There, you saw it moved up real quick. And I believe I can hit Control C, which was
Order filled.
close all. Yeah, so I did all that from my keyboard without touching the screen. So several people have asked for hotkeys over the years. Those are now in there. One of the other things I want to draw your attention to is over here on the bottom left, we have this trade status panel. So, you know, when you hit the buy button up here, it's actually respecting all of your entry filters and stuff. So let me try to simulate one here. If I go into entry filters and I turn those on, and let's say time filter, and let's say I'm not allowed to take trades after 9, I don't know, 940. Yeah. You'll see I'm clicking this button, and it's like, why is it not taking an order? Well, again, these upper buttons are respecting every single rule that you have configured in your template. So for me right now, because it's after 940, it's not going to let me take that trade. I do want to restart the strategy. Yeah, and it should work for the sell too. Now you're like, well, that's fine and dandy, but I want to get in. Well, that's why this button here says market buy. That's like, hey, ignore all the rules, get me in now. I just want to do a manual trade. So if you're ever clicking that button and you're like, man, I got a filter somewhere, but there's 10 different options. I don't know what the heck it is. Well, you can see if I look over here to the left now, I can't take a general trade at all because session times have passed. So that's your first indication. And then the other thing was I had the precision trend filter on. So right now I can take a long because the bars are blue. But theoretically, if I'm trying to go short, that's against the rule because I'm not allowed to go short when the bars are blue. So that's also giving you an indication there that there was a second filter that's actually keeping me from going short. So hopefully that's good. Let's see. It's hard to set up a demo for this, but there's a fourth line that'll show up as well. So if you are in a trade and all of a sudden it flattens or market's out, it'll tell you down here, hey, I got out because you had a rule set or whatever it was. So maybe you have a max daily profit of $1,000, and as soon as that next market tick comes in that causes you to go over $1,000, it's going to flatten your trade. Well, back in the day, it wasn't super obvious why that might happen. There was a little thing that would show up on the chart. But now down here in this left-hand panel, you'll see that. One of the big instances that caused support issues over the year was that precision trend that we were just talking about. You can also use that as an exit filter. So if that's turned on, you can say, if I'm in a long trade, that's great. But as soon as those bars turn red, you need to get me out. And again, the software was always doing what it was told, but it wasn't super obvious why all of a sudden your great trade just got killed on you. Well, now down here, you would see last trade exit, and it would say precision trend. So hopefully that helps everybody understand a lot more of what's going on. One of the other things that was kind of a pain, let me bring up a website here. If you're like me, you got a ton of different templates, and sometimes it's hard to remember what the heck the difference was between all of those. So if I go over to the Edge portal, which some of you may have never seen before because this is all brand new, I can go down to this tool called Template Compare, and this is where I can choose some templates. I've got my template on the right. I'm going to pick my template on the left. There we go. Now these are based on two different instruments, so there should be a lot of differences to show in a demo. So when I compare that, it's going to go through those files for me, and it's instantly going to tell me what's different. So on the Russell, the daily loss limit is $870. On the crude, it's $930. So there's a little difference there. Some of the filtering's different. The position sizing's different. So this tool has really helped me as I'm trying to develop automated models. So hopefully y'all get some use out of that. One of the other things that you will probably need going forward is if you have an old AutoTrader template, when you run the new installer, anything that's in your template folder automatically gets backed up and converted to the new theme. So you don't have to worry about any of that. That's touchless basically. But if you go back in your email because Randy sent you a really cool template a year ago and you try to plug that in, it's not going to work because that's geared towards the old AutoTrader strategy. So what you would do is you would come into here, and by the way, your credentials for this portal are the same as our website. So when you made your purchase, whatever your username and password is on that site, it also works here. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But anyway, the template converter, you would basically choose the old file and hit a button. It'll convert it for you, and then at the bottom it tells you exactly what folder that has to go in. Because most of you know, NinjaTrader's very picky about what folder those templates go in. So there's that. Let's see. We are in Market Replay, so I'm not sure how well this will work, but we're going to try it. So the next thing I'm going to go into is the Live Command Center. And if you already own the AutoTrader, now you own EdgeMax, and the Command Center part of this website is included at no cost. So you will instantly have access to this. Let me get my screen set up. The cool thing is, if you go to that website on a mobile phone, you can actually install it as an app, and it will send you notifications and do all sorts of cool stuff. Okay, so trying to decide if I should turn those filters back off or just mark it in here. Probably just mark it in. Okay, so over here on the Edge portal, you can see in the Command Center that I have one strategy running, and that's the template name, that's the instrument name, and it's live. One of the cool things is every 5 seconds, it's going to send a heartbeat back to the server. So if you are out and about and you have a strategy running, or maybe you were in a manual trade from the trade room and you got one more run or contract going, if for some reason the heartbeat does not occur, that means your data locked up in NinjaTrader. I know that happens to nobody, but it happens to me all the time. So if that happens, this is going to have a nice yellow bar that says, hey, by the way, I'm not really hearing from your strategy. You might want to go check on it. And then if it does that, I think it's more than 3 times in 20 seconds. If you have the mobile app installed, it'll actually ping your mobile phone and say, hey, I don't have a data feed for this strategy that you're running. So you might want to log in and check. So that alone is going to be huge because, you know, I run 4 or 5 of these automated strategies at a time, and when your market data stops, it's really painful to find out at the end of the day that you didn't get any trades. So again, instantly I can see, because I have the strategy running, it's in the Command Center, and I can, you know, control it from there. If this was an automated strategy, I can see over here that right now auto trade is off and longs are off as well. So the left side of the screen is a website. It's also on your phone. So at the, you know, at the tap of your finger, if you watch NinjaTrader over here, which is on a completely different computer, I want to go ahead and say, hey, the market is kind of chopping, so I do want longs and I do want shorts. So you'll see in an instant, it actually checked this little long box for me. And if you're like, okay, the news is over and the market's doing what I want, you know, I'm at the grocery store, but I do want that auto trade to start going. If I click this button, you'll see now, as soon as the next rule happens to fire a trade, it's literally going to take the trade. I wasn't anywhere near NinjaTrader, you know, pretty cool stuff. So I'm going to turn that back off. So you see, I turned it off over here in NinjaTrader. So let's go ahead and actually take a trade here. So I'm going to take a market buy. And you'll
Order
notice,
submitted.
whoa, get that stop out of there. There we go. We got a demo to give people. You'll notice that the name of that button now becomes buy add, because if I hit it now, I'm adding to this current position. And then the other buttons that don't make any sense are grayed out now. So hopefully that helps you too. Just the little things, like I said before. So anyway, over here on my phone or on the website, if I'm on maybe an iPad, this looks really nice on an iPad, I can see that, oh, we're in a trade. And I got target 1, 2, 3, and 4. I can see what my entry price was. I can see that we have 4 contracts. And I can see where my stops are. I can see the current price. And then every 5-second heartbeat that I was telling you about is also updating this portal, so I can see we're down $1,000 right now. So that's pretty cool. Now, you know, what if, again, I'm out and about and I don't have access to my NinjaTrader right now, but I am watching, you know, maybe TradingView on my phone, so I see that the market, you know, was turned against me and now it's going up. That's great. But I might want to trail my first bracket out. So normally you would hit this button over here for trail 1, but you can actually do it from your phone now as well. So if I hit trail 1 over here, you're going to watch the screen on the right.
Order failed.
it moved up that trail to a tick under the market, and then I got taken out. So you have kind of remote control, I guess is a good way to call it. If the market was in our favor right now, I could hit the break even, I could hit the trail 50, all the other buttons that you're used to using manually in NinjaTrader, you can actually reach out and touch from the new live command center. So, of course, the market's not going to go up, so I can show that, but I think everybody gets the point. As I move those brackets around, you'll see that. One of the things is if you have trail stop management on, this stop here is going to start doing some cool math behind the scenes that you told it to do. So as that's ticking up, you'll actually see the stop prices changing on here as well. So here in a second, we should see stop number 2 disappear because we got filled, and there you go. So stop 2 disappeared, target 2 disappeared. Now I can see at a glance that I only have, have 2 brackets still running. If all heck's breaking loose, I'm just like, just get me out of this trade. You can hit close position. That one is pretty drastic, so it's going to ask you to click it twice. It's like, are you really sure? And you can see,
failed.
I tapped on my phone over here or a website, and boom, NinjaTrader responded to me. And now I'm back to no trades running, no open positions, and I can see the stats for the strategy that I'm running right now. So pretty cool. You'll notice over here on the right, we have market status. Obviously, the market that you see in NinjaTrader is an old day, so it doesn't match this, but it is a holiday. It's Good Friday. And I can see that there was some economic news this morning at 8:30. And you can set a couple of preferences here. I only care about medium and high news, so I unchecked low. You can actually look at other countries if you want. So that's pretty cool. That actually is available inside of NinjaTrader. I'm not sure how many people know that that's there, but there is a news button up here that's attached to EdgeMax. It was on the AutoTrader too. But if I click that, it pulls up basically the same data you saw in the portal. So always a good thing to check that first thing in the morning. George does a pretty good job of reminding us in the trade room, but I know not everybody's in there. So there is also a way to get to the news manager. If you don't use EdgeMax, maybe you just own the indicators. The news feature is included for free, or not for free, but it's included in your subscription to the indicators as well. Just go into the NinjaTrader control panel, go to new, and you're going to see lots of new stuff showing up down here soon. But if I say BWT News Manager, boom, it's the same screen. So you can get to that from 2 different places. Now, I wanted to go, let's see here. I got to find an account that actually is subscribed to that. I got to go into the licensing and give myself a free trial real quick so I can show you this. Hold on one sec. Any questions? This is going to take a second to do. I think George has seen some of this already. That drop-in thing I built for George because I saw him trading one day. I'm like, oh, man, he needs a different way of doing this.
It's my favorite new feature.
I should have called it the George orders, but people that aren't in trade room would be confused. Okay, I'm almost there. I'm pulling up my back end office tool here. Hold on. I sure hope this is recording for Jay. It says it is. We'll see. My new computer came in, so you know how that goes. I'm going to spend all weekend getting everything ported over. But I'm looking forward to it. This machine that I've been coding on is about 4 years old. It's still runs great, but it gets super, super hot because it's a gaming computer and it's got a lot of power in it. Okay, why is this not working? Let's see here. More than one way to skin a cat. Let me try it on the website here. Hold on. While this is loading, one of the other actually amazing features that I failed to mention, if you are in a trade and let's say you had 4 brackets and target 1 filled and all of a sudden your NinjaTrader crashed or who knows, your strategy restarted for some reason. In the past, the only option you really had was to go find those positions and just flatten them and say, okay, well, that didn't work out great. So one of the really cool things now is every time there's an execution in the strategy, an executed order, I'm tracking that in the background. And if your NinjaTrader completely crashes and you come back and you restart the strategy, it knows where those orders were resting for your stops and targets. And if for some reason, the market really hasn't moved and you're still in the trade, EdgeMax will actually pick up on that and it'll reattach to all those orders like it's like your computer never crashed. So that is just, for me personally, is a really cool feature. Okay, I got my license thing up here. Let's see, internal license. What's the name of this test user? Tech Profits. Performance Lab, let me give him a free trial. Okay. Okay, finally got signed back in as our guy. Okay, I'm just gonna place an order real quick to make sure that that's actually still working.
Order submitted.
Okay, so now that this guy is subscribed to Performance Lab, you'll see there's a details button here. So lots of additional features. Hey. So if I click details, I can actually go into this
Order filled.
open trade.
Order filled.
I can see lots more data, and you're going to see what I meant by that here in a second. So, Performance Lab. This is, my goal has always been to be that one NinjaTrader vendor that it's not out just to sell you some ridiculous indicator or sell you some snake oil or stuff like that. I'm a trader just like you. I use the software every single day. And my whole goal is obviously to make myself a better trader. So as I've discovered things over the years that I should really be doing, I said, well, why not build, the Blue Wave software, expand it around all those things that we probably all should be doing. I know George coaches people. And so I was also kind of thinking through the lens of what if I was a coach trying to make my traders better. So this is Performance Lab. So at a very high level, there's a dashboard here. You can see all of my test data that I've been playing with over the last, probably 6 weeks or so. So this is test data, $102,000. I think I had a $100,000 trade. I was testing to see if how far the max daily
Order
loss
filled.
would go. But anyway, so this is kind of a high level overview of my data. So when you start your day, really, everybody should be going through some sort of prep
Order
process.
filled.
So this is our session prep. You can change this checklist. You can add things to it, completely customize it to whatever you do. But these are kind of the things that I'm sending out as like a version 1. And by the way, Performance Lab is not officially released. There's a lot of testing that still has to happen. All the screens are built, as you'll see, but I need to go in and verify down to the tick, like that it's capturing all the data correctly. So I'll throw that out there. If you're interested in testing it and you own EdgeMax, let me know. I'll get you a free trial to check this stuff out. But anyway, so, plan my day. What's my market bias? Maybe it's bullish. I might want to type some key levels to myself here. Maybe I've decided that today I should only take 4 trades and I only want to lose a certain amount of money. It's good to know kind of where your mind was before the market even opened. If I go to the mental check-in, a couple things here, I'm kind of focused, but maybe a little distracted by something that happened this morning. Energy level's good. Maybe I'm a little distracted. I could even type something to myself. Throughout Performance Lab, if you ever see a text box where it's asking you for plain English, you actually want to type as much of your thoughts in there as you can, and you'll see why in a little bit. But anyway, I might go through my checklist, say, okay, in the pre-market, here's all these things that I should be doing. Set daily loss limit in the copier, all sorts of fun stuff. Maybe I only did those, and that's fine. But I can look over here to the right because I'm doing my session prep, and I can see, I have news today. I better be aware of that. If I traded yesterday, I'll have yesterday's performance. And I can see that I currently have a rule where I'm not allowed to lose more than $100 a day. Obviously, that's for testing. But if you have any daily level rules that are active today, it would remind you of those over there. Okay, so you do your session prep, and everything's good. This is your trading rules. So you'll see that one was a daily rule. I said, hey, if I lose over $100 in a day, ding me, I did a bad job, and I broke my rule. You can also set up rules at the trade level. So, a couple that I set up is I don't want to widen my stops at all. So once I get into the trade and I set my stops, and that's where it's supposed to be, if I take that stop and I move it away from the market, that is a rule that I've set for myself, and I want to know later, hey, dummy, you broke your rule. You can actually say I'm allowed to widen once. I mean, it's completely up to you how you configure this. But I, for my test account, say I shouldn't widen at all. If I do, that's a rule break. I have a max loser set up per trade, so if I lose more than $100 on a trade, it'll show up as a broken rule. This is an interesting one. Time after a loser. So my rule here says if I just got out of a losing trade, I want at least 60 seconds to go by. It probably should be more like 5 minutes, but I'm testing. So you'll see we're starting to hopefully help you with some psychology and behavior things that get all of us traders, because If I break that rule, I'm probably on tilt. I'm revenge trading. Maybe I just got barely ticked out and I'm like, I'm getting back in. And we all know how that ends. It doesn't usually end well. So that's one of the rules I have set up here. You can also set up trade rules by instrument. So for me in this test account, I'm saying, hey, I don't ever want to take more than 5 contracts in ES. If I am, I'm breaking my rule. Like, I need to know about that. Again, probably revenge trading, trying to get my money back, whatever it is. So those are things that you would want to set up ahead of time. And then journaling. That's another huge thing that a lot of successful traders do. So I'll go back to last month. You can see I've been doing a lot of test trades. But this is my month at a glance, and I can kind of see, I have weekly stats over here as well. So actually it was a pretty good month for hitting test buttons. You can see that I made 26,000, traded 20 days, total of 307 trades. But I only journaled 3 of 20 days. That's probably not a good thing. So let's say it was my birthday, and for some reason I didn't journal, but I want to go back and journal it now. So I can click on that day, see my overall stats, and then these are literally the times I started a strategy. You're probably only going to have one row here, but since I'm testing and I'm in and out a lot, I have a lot. But I could go into, the details for that session, and I can see, I had one trade. And at a high level, I can see that it was a long trade. I can see that I did not move my stops. If I did, you'd see a little number there. I also didn't shorten my targets, which is a good or a bad thing, depending on your strategy. If you mouse over these, it usually gives you a little explanation for what that is. I can see when I opened the trade, when I closed it, basically what the net P&L was, what was the maximum heat I took, 23 ticks. It went 232 ticks in my favor, and I literally got out at the top tick, so the efficiency of there is 100%. That's pretty good. For the guys that set their targets and they are really good about just leaving them there, their efficiency is super high. Me, I'm not quite as good at that yet. I'm like, man, I'm up 50 points. Yeah, I shouldn't be greedy. Well, George had a target 1 right above me. I probably should have just let it run to the target and listened to George. So I can actually go into the details for this trade. There's a little button over on the right. This is the kind of data that no journaling tool on the market today can give you. I use a couple of them. I tried TraderSync for a while, but I was having issues getting my data in there. I personally right now still use TradeZella, but I'm only using that as an aggregation tool where I have all 30 of my funded accounts connected to it, and it's automatically bringing in whatever the trades are. The issue I found was, you're supposed to journal every trade, and you're supposed to come back at the end of the day and do it. And by the time the end of the day comes, if it was a losing day, that's the last thing I want to do is sit there and torture myself and have to go journal my trades. So you're going to see how we're going to enable you to do that as you're trading. But no other journal tool has this level of detail because they don't know what your trade looked like every 5 seconds as the trade was happening. So they can show you a chart, with your entries and targets and stops, and that's nothing crazy about that. But the one cool thing that they cannot show you is what I call the bracket evolution. So I can see when I got in this trade, my stops and targets were there, and you saw me move them. I moved the stop way out of the way just so my trade wouldn't get killed. But you can see the yellow is my average cost. So if I scale in contracts here, that yellow will come down. Blue is the current price at that 5-second heartbeat. And then this is target 1. So you'll see right here, target 1 got taken out. And then I had a target 2 sitting up here, and I left it there. And remember, I said it actually went up and took the target. So that's how I got the 100% efficiency. But this bracket evolution is data that nobody else is tracking. And by the way, it's done without you having to think about it. It's just because you are a subscriber to Performance Lab, as soon as you turn that on, we're capturing that data for you. And remember, it's only when you're taking trades with EdgeMax. If you're using the regular chart trader, my code has no idea what's going on out of our own code. So just keep that in mind. Another reason why you might want to start taking all your trades, even your manual trades, inside of EdgeMax. Another cool thing we're doing, every time there's an execution, I'm taking a screenshot for you. So, when you're doing your journal and you're coming back to say, okay, I want to rate myself on this trade, if you have 25 different indicators on the screen, you'll actually be able to see what they looked like when you took the trade. So that's pretty cool. And then there's one at the end for the trade close as well. So you basically, every time you hit a stop or a target, you're going to see a new screenshot show up. Down here, again, remember, we're in here at the end of the day. We're journaling our trade. One of the things I'm trying to give you is a little bit more market context. So the 1 minute, 5 minute, and 15 minute, we're all trending up. So that means higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. And you'll see those actually over here as well, because I'm capturing those for you. So you'll see, if I look over here to the right, this was a long trade, and 3 out of the 4 time frames were long as well. So it's telling me that I was with the trend. You might be a counter trend trader, and you might want that to say against. But for this trade specifically, I was going with the trend. And the ADX was 38.5. So if you mouse over that, you can see that that's a pretty strong trend. So the market was actually moving that day and not chopping around. I'm also, at the time of trade entry, I'm capturing the 1 minute, couple of EMAs on the 1 minute and the 5 minute. So just to give you an idea, we were above most of the the EMAs. So again, that indicated that longs were probably the right move there. And some of my traders care about the VWAP, and they want to know where was the VWAP at the time of my trade, and how far away was I. This was actually all the way up between the first and second standard deviation, so it was pretty far away. And then this is where I say, okay, well, let me overall rate my trade. Man, that was a good one. My confidence level was pretty high. What's the playbook? Why did I even take this trade? I was just scalping for whatever reason. Now, in that playbook for scalping, I have some rules for myself. There's an entry rule of, was I feeling lucky? Yep, I was. Did I get out when the dice cooled off? Yep, I sure did. These are obviously a joke, but in trade management, did I move to break even too quick? Did I move my stops around? This playbook is completely up to you. You can have as many or as little rules as you want in there, but you want to fill this out. And then there's also some tags. I provide a bunch of tags out of the box, but you can expand this list and just for yourself. So this was a test trade. Actually, there was really no mistakes on that one, so I can leave that blank. I was feeling, what did we say, distracted at the time, and there was good volatility. And then here's another one of those text boxes. So I'm going to type to myself, got in this trade. I wasn't even looking at the screen, which is probably why I got my full target, because I didn't mess with it, like I should not do. And so the journal now knows, the reason he got 100% on that one was because he wasn't even looking at the screen. Good information to have in the future. And then if you need to see it, you can actually go down and see every single execution and what those were as well. And if you have commissions configured, it'll pull those in as well. So theoretically, at the end of the day, at minimum, you go through your 3 or 4 trades for the day and you do what I just did. And then that's basically completing your journal for the day. Now, if you want to go back and look at all your trades, you can look at the trade history. So this is every single trade I've ever taken since we started testing. I can come in, I can start filtering. I can say I only want to analyze maybe my ES trades. So now you'll see I'm looking at just ES. Maybe I'm only want to look at my template that I call my manual trading 50K. So that's applied as well. Maybe I only want to look at trades that actually occurred in the market, not the playback trades, because you can go do practice playback and it'll actually count those stats for you as well. You can say, hey, I'm an auto trader, so I only want to look right now at my manual trades because that's what I'm trying to analyze. So you get the idea. So once you start gathering data, there's all sorts of achievements you can get, like 5 consecutive trades where I've followed my rules 100%. That's a nice little thing to get there. And eventually, we might let people opt in and have like a community board where we can help celebrate each other, right? I mean, trading is a lonely business, and when you have other traders that are there to support you. That's why I like the trade room. Trading on my own is okay, but man, just being able to listen to the chatter and the commentary. Well, sharing in each other's results, that's another way we can encourage each other. So I'll be expanding that out a little bit more at some point. The cool thing, once you have all this data, is, well, what do I do with it? Most journals, it's like, okay, I can go back and look at it. It's like a diary. I never understood why people wrote in diaries, because I tried that for a while in my early business days, and I never went back and actually ever read it. So we decided that maybe we should take this data and plug it into AI. So we have two different ways for you to analyze your data. We have the AI Coach. If I bring that up, if I click Analyze My Performance, it's basically going to take my approximately last 50 trades, and it's going to package up that data. It's going to summarize it. It's going to prompt the AI with a ton of questions that I'm asking it for you on the back end, and it's going to come back with an analysis. So this is one that I ran previously. And you'll see things, let me zoom in on that a little bit because that's going to be hard to read. So the AI took my trading data, and it's going to come back and it's going to give me some analysis. It's going to say, okay, the frequency of stop loosenings is minimal. You only did that one time out of 50. So for bracket management, you're doing pretty good. When you do loosen, you do lose a little bit of your profit, obviously. Trade management and early exit self-sabotage. So trade pull-ins and buttons were noticeably low. There was only 2 trades that you did that. Very low average realized multiple of 0.3, and when you were planning a 1.35, this inconsistency suggests a pattern of not letting your trades reach their full potential, which is literally what I was just talking about in that last trade. Although the data shows no direct economic loss due to the target modifications. You get the idea here. If you're watching the replay on this, you can pause it and read through this a little bit more, but just a wealth of information. One of the ones I added recently was tilt detection. So tilt episodes accounted for $8,000 worth of losses. The win rates while you were tilted was 0%, where non-tilted trades were much more profitable, averaging 344 per trade. A pattern of consistent rapid losses appears under the tilt conditions, especially with minimal gaps between the trades. Your gaps were only 148 seconds. I mean, that's not anything that I would ever be able to glean from going back and reviewing my data. Now that we have AI on our side, that's just, for me, that's game-changing stuff.
Not to interject too much, but
No, please,
this goes
please.
very well with the trainings that we were just doing with our group. We were trying to describe out how to categorize your stuff in a very quick, succinct way, just like through a check mark, to say, was this an A trade, a B trade, C trade, D trade, or F trade? So I love that this is incorporated into this. Carry on.
Awesome. Yeah, if anybody else has questions, this wasn't anything planned. I don't have a list of things to talk about or a PowerPoint. We're just, having a conversation. And usually these conversations are what leads me to building something new, because I hear good advice or good ideas from people. So yeah, please chime in. That market context I was showing you, the reason I'm capturing that is because that might tell us something that would help you, make better trades in the future. So for this analysis, trades counter to the trend resulted in significant losses, particularly the outlier of a $1,400 loser when I was going against the trend. So I'm not a good counter trend trader, at least in this test account. So if I find myself doing that a lot and the AI is basically saying, hey, dummy, that's not your thing. You're not good at that. That's actionable information that could change my behavior. So that's good. High ADX over 30 had slightly better results than the lowers. In other words, this account was doing pretty good when the market started taking off instead of just chopping. EMA positions notably lower, had a better win rate. So when I was below the EMAs, I did better. VWAP proximity showed entries beyond 2 standard deviations actually performed better. So that means the market's really just taken off, and at this point, I'm just trying to get a little cream off the top. Anyway, so you can read the rest of those for yourself. And then what we try to do at the bottom is give you 3 actionable recommendations. And the AI completely comes up with this section. I mean, I didn't prompt it to say, hey, maybe you suggest A, B, and C to the user. This is pure AI crunching, which is just mind-blowing to me. But number one is cooldown introduction. With $8,000 loss during your tilt trades, you should enforce a 10-minute break after 2 consecutive losers to break your revenge trading cycle. That's some pretty good information. Probably something I already knew I should do, but maybe it's more actionable when it's being thrown in your face like, hey, this is the only reason you lost money today. Plan realization and targets review, improve your realized R multiples. That probably wouldn't show up normally. I'm just doing some weird testing in here. So, and enforce trend aligned trades. With a clear drop in performance against the trend in opposing alignments, restrict your entries to those aligning with the predominant swing trends. X trades matching trend cost you $1,400. So that's what I was saying. This is telling me you're not a good counter trend trader. Don't do it. Now,
Do any of these pop up in the middle of the day, or is this all post?
this would be post. I thought about doing a quick analysis every time you close a trade, but I also have to be careful because every time somebody clicks an AI button, that costs me money. AI is not free. So I have it in my development pipeline, and what I might do is allow people who really, really, really want to use AI Unlimited to plug in their own AI subscription. And so if they had a Chat GPT, as long as they created an API key for EdgeMax, then they could click these buttons as many times as they wanted. I wouldn't care. So that is in the future. That would be really cool. Every time a trade closes, do a quick analysis and tell me what the heck that trade just was. So the other way you can use EdgeMax AI is literally ask it questions. So I have a couple of suggested questions here, but you literally could do anything. I think we did a demo with George the other day, and I forget what account I was in, but if we did one together, it would be in this list here. So when I ran this, I said, what are my 5 worst trades this month? So as soon as I said this month, it knew to only talk about, trades in this month. And it literally went and found everything, categorized it, summarized the data for me, showed me a couple of the trades. And it came down here and it gave me some things like consider integrating more confirming signals or waiting for a more favorable alignment regarding the trend and VWAP. So again, this was that whole counter trend thing. And even the Ask the AI, when I said, how am I doing this month, was able to point that out as well. Trying to think of a question we can ask it like right here live in the demo. So in March,
How many times did I move my stop?
we might not see a lot of data there because I didn't develop that till late in the month, but we'll try it and see what it
Okay.
says. How many times did I move my stop?
I just feel like that's the one that plagues a lot of people.
Yeah.
So they'll get that. They'll get that for sure. But
So I mean, is that not the coolest thing? Freaking AI's typing on your screen for you. I just think crazy. Okay, in March, you manage your stop levels as follows. You tightened them 13 times and you widened them 4 times. This indicates you were more inclined to tighten, which is a good thing, than widen them. If the aim is to protect profits or adhere to risk management rules more strictly, this aligns well with typical strategies for managing trades. If you wish to delve deeper or analyze the stop management impact on your overall strategy, let me know. And you could say,
ask it how many times did I tighten my stop, and then the market took me out, but then went further in the direction I was trying to get to.
I gotta ask myself if it actually has that kind of data.
Okay.
If you leave the strategy running after you're out, one of the things I am doing is I'm saying, hey, you moved your targets in, but before the strategy stopped, it did get to your profit target. So I can tell you things like that, but I don't know if I'm actually doing post data collection after the stop gets hit. We could ask it. What was it? How many times?
Well, maybe, yeah, maybe did you have a target that it didn't get to? You tightened your stop. I don't know if it has this information, but you tightened your stop, came back, took you out, but then ended up going to the target you originally had set. Maybe.
Yeah, so it may be tracking that. I just might not have any data. You can see that it did answer your last question. I'm actually writing that down over here. I'm gonna add that to my. I got to do a lot of testing in Performance Lab, but that's one of the things I'm gonna, because I should be able to capture that.
Yeah,
data.
because you,
Again, as
yeah,
long
because
as you
even
leave
if,
the
even if
strategy
you weren't
running.
still, right. I would say even if you closed out, right, it still knew where you had the target originally or your profit set. So it knew that information. I didn't know if it would track it just based on that knowledge.
Yeah, it compares to that, but like I said, if you take a loser and you get frustrated and you stop the strategy and close down for the day, our strategy doesn't know what bars came next. So that would be the only limitation there. So I guess the suggestion is just let it run till the end of the day, and then it could come back and tell you, hey, by the way, here's what you would have made if you wouldn't have done that. But that's essentially a demo of Performance Lab. The last part of that is the whole adhering to actually doing it, right? So I can tell you from personal experience that I almost never came back and filled that stuff out in my trades. So one of the cool things we got now is, let's take a trade.
Orders.
Oh shoot, this guy's not subscribed.
Order submitted.
Dang it.
Order
Anyway,
filled.
if this account
Order filled.
had the Performance Lab subscription when I restarted Ninja, you would see the journal button right down here to the right, and you would literally click that, and all those things I showed you on the end of the day review, they're in here in EdgeMax. So as soon as you get in the trade, you should probably go in and answer a couple of those things, like, you know, what was my confidence, what was the reason I took the trade, you know, what was the playbook, and then when the trade closes, go back in there, and until you open a new trade, it's still attached to that one. So while you're in there, you shouldn't be rushing into the next trade anyway. While you're in there, go ahead and fill out your journal, and then at the end of the day, guess what? You've already journaled the whole day. So that, I think, is also, I hate to use the word game-changing because that's like, you know, it's an overused term, but to me, this is really some game-changing stuff that my whole goal with all this new development was, I started when I bought the company from Randy back in September. I sat down with all the AI agents I could find, and I said, let's research the market and let's do some things that nobody else is doing with NinjaTrader. And it created a big list of hairy goals and big audacious goals, I guess, and coded most of them. So that's why you have what you have now at your fingertips. So.
Is any of this understanding of Chartcast, like what we're putting in, and it's just, I don't know, it just sees it and at least acknowledges things?
No, it doesn't, because, you know, one of the things eventually, hopefully more than just our room is using Chartcast, you know, that anybody who's running a room out there in NinjaTrader could use Chartcast. So it would be hard to tie the two tools together.
Yeah, I don't know if it could acknowledge that at the same time as whatever
Yeah.
there was a has to hold, for instance.
So the answer to that is put Chartcast on your screen, and then every time you take a trade, guess what I'm doing? I'm taking a screenshot, right? So if you have Chartcast on your screen, I think we can answer that question. Oh, I took a trade here, but guess what? George didn't have anything called out there. What the heck was I thinking? Or, man, that's right.
Order filled.
I took that trade because it was counter trend at the rubber band. Sweet. So yeah, I guess it won't tell you data-wise, but you could at least visualize if you're a Chartcast subscriber and know kind of how you were or were not aligned with the room.
Yeah, I was thinking like going back to your AI thing and just asking a general question like, hey, you see where I entered whatever today, did that align with, like, that way like it's holding the data for you. So you could actually, like, for the prior month, how many times did my entries align with, you know, the counter trend of a rubber band or the entry it has to hold? I was just thinking like further data.
Yeah, I suppose on your own you could take these screenshots and feed them to AI, but there's no data points being captured between the two products. Oh, there's one where we widened a stop. It's pretty obvious for you. Cool. Let's see. Journal configuration. That's where you come in and you can create your own tags. So the ones that have a little lock icon, those are defaults. But you can see I added a couple of my own. You can set those up as many as you want. You can actually have your own custom category if you want, because these are the ones that I could think of. Of course, I used AI. I said, hey, give me some ideas on what people should be tracking. And so that's where most of the ideas at least came from. This is your checklist setup. So that's that pre-market checklist. Again, you can customize that as much as you want. And then the playbooks. So, here's one of the playbooks is the rubber band counter trend. If you're not in the room, that's one of the money makers. And you can say, okay, well, I'm going to take that trade, and what are George's rules? What are the 3 or 4 rules? And you could put that in here and make sure it all matched. And then the cool thing is, now that I have that playbook, I can see all the trades that I tagged under that playbook, and I can see my results for this playbook. So I can come over here and say, okay, well, when I take that trade, I'm a 50-50 trader, and my P&L is, when I followed all the rules, was negative. When I broke the rules, it was positive. So obviously that's test data. And what was the profit factor when I followed the rules? Oh, that was another cool thing I forgot. There's so many things in here. I completely forget. And George sees a demo. He's like, dude, that's really cool. But I'm going to get back into a trade here.
Order.
Just being able to see on
Order
the screen,
submitted.
like, what the target is. That's a $200 target, and the risk to reward is 8 compared to its corresponding stop. So this trade, if it plays out and I get all my winners, is a 1.7 RR. It's those little things I keep forgetting they're in there. They're cool. One of the things George sometimes will coach people is, hey, don't look at the dollars, because that's messing with your head right now, dude. So if you come up here, I'm in the upper right-hand side. If I tap on the dollars, now I'm looking at this in points. So maybe that'll help you not get so nervous or anxious because you're up $1,000 in a trade. Yeah.
Yep, it's just a big game of from here to there.
Yep.
Order filled.
Yep.
It's not about the money.
And then I think the last thing was on those trading rules. You can basically say, okay, well, I have all my rules set up. Last 30 days, how did I do? So now it's literally going to go through every trade, and it's going to apply all the criteria for these rules that I have set up. And it's going to give me an overall compliance score. So that's pretty good, 84%. As you can see, that widened the stops. That didn't exist in most of March, so it thinks I was perfect on that. I can promise you these test trades were not perfect. So that number would be better if I ran it in April, because it would actually show me something. But looks like 3 trades I went over the max position size in ES, and 15% of the time I got back into a trade too quick according to my rule. And then obviously my max loser was a lot because it's only $100. I'm trying to break it on purpose, but cool. And like everything else, there's a light mode and there's a dark mode. Try to do that across all the software. If you are on a mobile phone or actually in a web browser, it'll send you these little notifications. So I don't think you saw this yet, George. One of the things every day at, I think it's 5:30, I'll send you a summary. What's your daily P&L? Number of winners, number of losers. So you see that. It'll just pop up on your phone. I don't see any in this test account, but remember when I was talking about the market data got stale? That'll pop up as well, like, hey, go check on your strategy. And you can actually have it notify you every time you get into a trade. So if you're an auto trader who's trading algo and you're on the run, last week that happened, crude. I'm like, oh, wow, crude just took a trade. Cool. And then about 10 minutes later, oh, it was a winner. And it told me that it closed and how much the P&L was. So really cool stuff. But that's, that's an hour and a half of show and tell. So I think
Yeah, this is going to be just phenomenal.
we got a bunch of people showed up. So anybody has any questions or Hollywood's in here. He's been doing some good testing for me too. So appreciate that. And I'm looking to see if I recognize any new names. It's hard for me to see usernames because I'm recording, so it cuts off most of the username. There's one that starts with an O. I don't recognize the icon. Not sure who that is.
It's Alejandro.
Oh,
Yeah, he's been here.
cool. Yeah. Okay, well, if there's no questions, I am not handing out the installer for this to the masses yet, just because it was such a major change. So if you already own the old Auto Trader and you want to play with the new stuff, just shoot me a DM, and I'll get you the installer. My suggestion is just run the new installer along the old stuff. Leave the old stuff there. That way, if we do find out that something did not get converted for you, it's not lost. And maybe 2 or 3 weeks from now, you can go uninstall the old software. It shouldn't interfere with anything. But yeah, I would just close Ninja, run the installer, and relaunch, and everything should just pick up where it left off. So. Okay, guys. Well, there was no market today, so hopefully this was a little entertaining at a minimum. And I am going to go work on cleaning my pool because it's that time of year, and I need to open it before the kids start asking why they can't swim. So,
Thanks, Bob.
talk to you all soon.